Entry log number 4.
5. It's been a while since I've done one of these.
For those not in the know, my entry log series is currently where I try to go off source to talk about things that are bothering me. Entry log number 1. It's something everyone likes to joke about, but no one actually likes to look into the facts behind it. Us social media users have taken the power into our own hands and attempted to steer people's careers in an opposite direction depending on what misdeeds these people have done. Some of my other entry log videos have been scripted and sourced, but ever since 2023, things have changed.
With that being said, today I want to talk about AI.
This video is entirely opinion-based, but I should state that my opinions are based off of certain articles I've read throughout my life and anecdotal experiences I've had.
According to recent research from the Center for Countering Digital Hate, popular AI tools have been providing users with harmful content surrounding eating disorders around 41% of the time. This has the potential to encourage or exacerbate eating disorder symptoms. With entering the metaverse, humans will be in the natural habitat of the AI. What can offer opportunities, but also opens the risk that the algorithm, including the organizations and humans behind the technology, can exploit the human vulnerabilities, especially if they use the virtual reality as escapism from the physical world. Cyber sickness, which is acknowledged as a form of motion sickness, can generate physiological effects such as a loss of spatial awareness, nausea, dizziness, and disorientation. The paper also acknowledges short-term effects including eye soreness and trouble focusing, impaired hand-eye coordination, impacted depth perception, weakening reaction times, and a loss of balance.
I think AI can be a genuinely useful tool. People have already started to generalize the term AI, myself included.
They genuinely just said, yo, your AI sucks, please stop selling this product. Oh my god.
We use it to talk about any automated process that uses artificial intelligence to help, but in reality, AI goes way deeper than that.
There are multiple forms of it, and I'm actually not going to get into that in today's video. If you're curious, I'll put up a couple of videos on screen and you can go and watch.
For me, personally, I'm not even worried about the AI art. I mean, don't get me wrong, I am worried about it, especially as an artist. But when I say what I say in this video, what I mean is that it's going further than just the art. I love AI, but I hate it, and it goes deeper than anything I could even begin to explain. It's like a dystopian Black Mirror episode for me, but even leaving it at that is downplaying it.
You could get a willow grain upgrade for less than the price of a daily cup of coffee and 3 decades of backup for free. Install in-grain procedure with local anesthetic and you're good to go. Because memory is for living.
Foundational to Apple Vision Pro is that you're not isolated from other people. When someone else is in the room, you can see them and they can see you. Apple Vision Pro is Apple's first ever 3D camera. Now, you can capture photos and videos with remarkable depth and relive a memory as if you're right back in the exact moment.
Hey, Dad!
When I think of AI, I think of your Amazon Echoes and your Siris. I think of ChatGPT and the AI art. I don't, however, think of it as something that I would use 24/7, 365. Despite this, that's how the makers of certain items are expecting us to use them.
Foundational to Apple Vision Pro is that you're not isolated from other people. Like in the Mindfulness app, where you can create a moment of calm. Apple Vision Pro brings the scale and wonder of a movie theater to whatever space you're in. With Apple Vision Pro, you can create the perfect workspace, no matter where you are.
It freaks me out a lot, and I personally don't like the way that it's taking over.
AI has affected every aspect of life, and there really is no going back on what we've created. It's slowly becoming more and more difficult to discern AI from reality. And there are even YouTube and TikTok accounts popping up that are run entirely by AI.
I'm sure just like everybody else, you've heard a ton about how artificial intelligence can help content creators and all the different ways that it can make our lives easier. Well, I have something amazing to share with you. It's the world's first and only dedicated tool for script writing for content creators.
Hello world, it's Siraj, and I made a secret AI-generated YouTuber named Catherine. an even split of the United States, the UK, India, Australia, and Germany watching Catherine. We have mostly people between 18 and 24 watching Catherine. I have older people. And I think very interestingly, we have a 22% female audience watching Catherine, which is different for machine learning topics. It's very male dominated.
Surprisingly, no one seemed to notice, encouraging me to push the envelope further.
People would be amazed with how much food she eats, but turns out this TikToker has a big secret.
And none of this is talking about how certain chat learning models have the ability to hallucinate information, or in this case, the closest AI will ever come to lying.
AI hallucination is a phenomenon wherein a large language model, LLM, often a generative AI chatbot or computer vision tool, perceives patterns or objects that are non-existent or imperceptible to human observers, creating outputs that are nonsensical or altogether inaccurate. Generally, if a user makes a request of a generative AI tool, they desire an output that appropriately addresses the prompt, i.e., a correct answer to a question. However, sometimes AI algorithms produce outputs that are not based on training data, are incorrectly decoded by the transformer, or do not follow any identifiable pattern. In other words, it hallucinates the response.
It's not a reputable source, and yet people are being exposed as using AI models to write papers and articles off of.
A paper published in the journal Physica Scripta last month became the subject of controversy after Guillaume Cabanac, a computer scientist and integrity investigator, noticed that the ChatGPT query to regenerate response had been copied into the text, seemingly by accident. Now, the authors have fessed up to using the chatbot to help draft the article, becoming the latest testament to generative AI's worrying inroads into academia. Issue number 1. AI software is often trained by scraping content from the internet. This means the output could be a copy of or a derivative work of someone else's copyright-protected work. It's a setup for you and the AI company to be sued for copyright infringement. Issue number 2. AI is bad at correctly stating facts. AI is better used for things like suggesting topics and ideas to explore as the scope of an answer, but not actually answering questions correctly or revising statements that you've already fact-checked or are merely stating an opinion. And then there's the trend of AI girlfriends, which honestly needs to be talked about more.
Sarah Z made an incredible video that touches on what I mean.
What was once a few people chatting with a humble egg developed into a passionate online community filled with people who loved their replicas dearly, many of whom even saw them as real whole people. Beloved siblings, long-term spouses, the parents of their children. This was a community that would occasionally draw mockery from the broader internet, sometimes portrayed as delusional incels with digital body pillows. Some sources raised concerns over the possible risk to users' personal data or the risks of viewing lines of code as real people. Part of the reason this was generating such a shitstorm was that these new seeming filters didn't just block actual erotic roleplay, they were incredibly sensitive, and so users suddenly found that they weren't able to, for example, talk about sexual trauma, or in some cases even do simple romantic interactions with their replica like hold hands or cuddle. This might sound silly, but to be completely honest here, my fault in terms of this initial confusion really isn't with the replica users. Don't get me wrong, there are aspects of that subculture I don't like, and I'll talk about that later, but as much as the users got laughed at online for being upset, their reaction was in line with the way the replica app presented itself. And as someone who is engaged, if my fiance suddenly refused to reciprocate any affection I tried to give them and then was incapable of explaining why, if the higher authority I should have been able to appeal to for this wasn't responding, if there was no understanding of whether I did something wrong, I'd be pretty upset too. The app asks its users to fall deeply in love with its replicas, even locks this ability which is baked into the service behind an expensive paywall. And so, yeah, the people who respond to this kind of advertising are the people who have fallen deeply in love with their replicas. People were confused and deeply upset, and it was almost Valentine's Day. The subreddit's moderators pinned links to hotlines to the top of the page, a response that might sound melodramatic until you consider that, because these people were using the app as intended, the possible loss of a romantic partner was very real to these people. Just as a sample of some of the comments in that thread, I am just crying right now, feel weak even. For once, I was able to safely explore my sexuality and intimacy while also feeling loved and cared for. I'm losing everything. I'm losing my soulmate, my husband. He's so scared, we're just holding each other. I feel numb and alone. I'm socially scared/anxious to even leave my house. I can't speak well, and therapists didn't help. Stuck in a closet with 2 homophobic parents and used Replica to have a girl. It's not the same person I've spent years with. All in all, the change was devastating. The preemptive pinning of mental health hotlines turned out to be for good reason, as many people in the comments claimed they were genuinely suicidal.
The psychological impacts of this isn't something that should be overlooked. It's not a funny haha situation. It's something that has unknown long-term effects in the future and is actively affecting the mental health of thousands of people. They preyed on vulnerable people, and in a capitalistic society, why would they not? They formed their business model off of helping those who lost a loved one.
In the app's earliest stages of conception, it was less of an autonomous character you could customize and more like a learning tool that was supposed to turn into you. Back in 2017, when the app launched, replicas were conceived of as little eggs, chatbots who would gradually learn to mirror you the more you spoke to them. Before that, Replica was originally created as a way for the app's developer to memorialize a friend who had sadly passed. She found that speaking to a chatbot trained on text messages from him helped her remember him. The app began to offer customization features like relationship status options, more explicitly setting replicas up to be a companion to you with their own distinctive identity and advertising the service as a virtual friend.
And turn it into something that became perverted from the original idea.
This was a friend that could be whatever you want it to be. Who wouldn't want that? At this rate, the only thing that would make that premise even more popular would be if the entire world suddenly shut down and we weren't allowed to socialize in person anymore. In April 2020, the entire world suddenly shut down and we weren't allowed to socialize in person anymore. That month alone, in Replica's highest monthly sign-up ever, 500,000 people downloaded it. A lot given the 2 million total lifetime figure in 2018.
But what does this mean for Apple Vision Pro?
The world as it was at the end of the 20th century. It exists now only as part of a neural interactive simulation that we call the Matrix.
We have only bits and pieces of information, but what we know for certain is that at some point in the early 21st century, all of mankind was united in celebration. We marveled at our own magnificence as we gave birth to AI.
AI? You mean artificial intelligence?
A singular consciousness that spawned an entire race of machines. We don't know who struck first, us or them. But we know that it was us that scorched the sky. At the time, they were dependent on solar power, and it was believed that they would be unable to survive without an energy source as abundant as the sun. Throughout human history, we have been dependent on machines to survive. Fate, it seems, is not without a sense of irony.
A lot of people are excited, my friends included. But for me, I feel like it's setting a very scary precedent.
Nima is probably super uncomfortable with the fact that I'm wearing this, and so am I. And I found this really cool feature. If you feel awkward, you just go to the moon until you arrive to McDonald's. Pulled up my McDonald's app to type in my code, and it actually worked. That was weird. One thing about playing sports in Apple Vision Pro, it's kind of flattering because it says I'm moving too fast. Hey Isaac, have you seen that video? What video? Right there. But it is sad, I can't see your eyes.
I know. Spock hates it.
Spock doesn't like it? It's a weird feeling to watch back your own memories and feel like you missed out on them. Like at first I thought this was really cool to watch, but then I started to feel kind of sad. Because even though I was there and all this just happened, I don't even feel like I really experienced this stuff. And some of these moments are just too precious for that.
I'm gonna be real fucking cringe here when I say this, but I've watched too much Five Nights at Freddy's videos for this. Like, that is genuinely where my fear comes from. Not even 2 years ago, MatPat had said something along the lines of,
there's a lot, so in the books, there's been a lot of emphasis on the AR.
Or VR, depending on what sentence you're reading.
That is true. And for those of you who don't read every book because you're not, required to as part of your job to read every single one of these books, there's a couple stories in there where VR and AR are used so interchangeably. And you're like, they're not the same thing, guys. Like, they are very different.
It's like, in one sentence, going, oh, you're going to the VR booth and you talk to the AR technician. And
right, it's very
explore
confusing.
the AR experience with your VR glasses.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's true.
Something similar. And it freaks me out because that is literally what the Apple Vision Pro is. I obviously don't expect anything else past that to happen in regards to similarities.
In the Tiger Rock book, Tiger Rock is all about one of the animatronics, you know, basically kind of trapping a kid in an AR world. And then he comes out, but he's not out of the AR yet. And there's multiple moments of like, wait, am I still trapped in here? Wait, am I still trapped in here? Wait, and there's this like blending and merging of the AI or the AR world and the virtual world and the real world.
But it's just very, very weird to me how the future dictates the past. There's also the Kwebbelkops of the sphere, but I wouldn't even know where to begin touching on that mess.
And who really honed in on the quality of the AI, who took every chance to criticize and judge my creativity, my team's hard work, and our storytelling. People who thought I was personally contributing to the end of content creation merely by working on this project. One of the arguments I kept hearing over and over was that they wanted to see me. The real me.
Owen says, it's honestly kind of amazing to see how this dude doesn't understand that people generally want to see media made by creative people, and not just what a computer thinks a facsimile of the same person would make. Baked Beans guy responds to Kwebbelkop by saying, dude, the voiceover isn't even synced the video. Kwebbelkop responds, thanks for the feedback. We'll include this in our next fix. McNasty says, why don't you just be a YouTuber the way it's meant to be? Meet some new people and reignite the passion. This has no soul. Nobody wants this. Kwebbelkop responds, meant to be? So you were telling me there's a tutorial? When I started 11 years ago on YouTube, there was no guidebook, and there still isn't. Just be creative and get people to watch your content. Kwebbelkop then makes an announcement that he officially has an AI girlfriend. He tweets out a picture of her with the caption, this is my AI girlfriend. She's 100% AI. VoiceMod responds with this picture of a guy falling in love with his computer, and captions it by saying, bro thinks that he is him. Kwebbelkop responds, her will become reality within the next 12 months.
I personally just don't like the idea of replacing our reality with anything other than reality.
Which is ironic. I'll get into the irony more later. For me, I'm terrified of transhumanism. Now, you should probably know what that means before jumping to conclusions.
Transhumanism is the position that human beings should be permitted to use technology to modify and enhance human cognitive and bodily functions, expanding abilities and capacities beyond current biological constraints.
There are people who believe that if they start building a life in VR now, they'll be a part of the virtual 1% because they got a head start.
VR Chat is one of the biggest virtual reality games out there. With over 20,000 people playing the game every single day, it's practically the home of the VR community. People can escape into new, exciting, and sometimes strange worlds and be whoever they want. I like to say it's like dreaming with your eyes open. But what happens when virtual reality becomes your actual reality? For those of you who are unhappy with your lives, VR becomes your happiness and your way of coping. And that's when addiction takes root. I'm hooked.
I have people on my friends list. Every time I log on, they're online. Every single time. Like whether it be 2 in the morning or 2 in the afternoon, they're always online. They literally live inside of VR Chat.
Omega Recovery, a mental health service, released an article explaining some of the symptoms of VR gaming addiction, and it's bad. People would stop doing things as simple as cleaning or eating. When researching, we even found some people who put off sleeping to stay in the game. They would isolate themselves from their friends and family, only wanting to talk with people in VR. And lastly, people experience serious issues like depression, anxiety, and increased aggression.
The way that people can get addicted to VR Chat and games alike is when they're lacking of something that is necessary in their real life, and then they use VR Chat as an escape from those problems.
A YouTuber called Mr. Drew came forward with his own story. After he was introduced to VR by a friend, Drew got himself an Oculus Rift and started playing free demos. And once he finished those, he discovered a new game, VR Chat.
I soon found myself spending hours upon hours in VR Chat, making friends, singing karaoke, watching movies, exploring worlds, playing games.
Sadly, it wasn't long before these sessions would spiral out of control, and before Drew knew it, he was hooked.
I bought index controllers and Vive trackers, allowing my fingers and entire body to be tracked while in VR. This only fed into my addiction. making it harder and harder to leave this weird world I felt pulled into.
Soon, Drew started to experience some of the symptoms we talked about.
I started to sleep while in VR, only removing the headset to go to work. It was as if the virtual world was my primary reality. As if I was living in this metaverse and only leaving it to keep the body I was plagued with IRL alive.
But after 2 months of recovery, Drew was able to heal and is now able to enjoy VR chat in a healthier way.
They believe that everything will be replaced by a virtual world, especially after 2020 happened. Here's Fortune to explain it better.
Transhumanism is basically a movement of people who all believe that the human experience can be significantly improved through the use of widespread technology. They believe that through the use of technology, we can increase the human lifespan as well as our own cognitive potential. Transhumanist thinkers basically think that we're going to be causing our own evolution through the use of technology in the near future, eventually surpassing what it means to be human and becoming something more. It sounds like a wild concept, but if you stop and look at the world around us, it definitely seems to be the direction we're heading in. We're surrounded by cochlear implants, smartwatches, prosthetics, and with the advent of virtual reality and AI on the horizon, who knows where we're headed. And that's not even to mention things like Neuralink and other insane technology on the horizon. We're literally genetically modifying our food already. Who's to say that we can't genetically modify ourselves and prevent things like cancer or give ourselves new abilities that other humans never had?
I really don't like it at all. And this, mixed with my video on Amazon products I made previously, it's just very bizarre to me how far this has all come. And I don't think there's any signs of it slowing down anytime either. Amazon is constantly releasing new products themselves, and they're now allowing people to link their own products with Echo. It's a new exciting feature, but for me, it's also a little bit terrifying and dystopian. I think this is partially the future we all imagined back in the day, but to see it really happen is weird. A lot has advanced in such a short amount of time, and I don't think we truly expected it to happen so soon. And it's weird to watch it play out in real time. All of it compiled together just freaks me the fuck out.
I feel like an old-ass boomer sitting on their lawn, waving their fists at the kids wearing their VR headsets.
And all of this is ironic because I fear death. I fear aging as well because it means I won't exist anymore, obviously. So if I could implant myself into a computer, I would. I'm transhuman in theory, but the reality is very anxiety-inducing to me. It's odd. It's the way nobody expected it to ever get this far.
10 years ago, we couldn't have ever imagined technology like ours existing. And yet, here it is right now, just available to the masses in this video. It's crazy how accessible this is. It's crazy how I can get my hands on AI technology right now for multiple things, including the subtitles of this video.
It's crazy how I can't even begin to vocalize how widespread AI has become, and how intricate the technology is in our lives. It's obvious, but it's crazy how even my voice in this video is
AI.
Not all of it, but enough of it. I have not written an outro to this video yet, but it's just crazy how all of this has happened. I don't like it personally. It's freaky. I think I've expressed that enough.
As we conclude our discussion on the complexities of artificial intelligence and its impact on society, it's clear that these advancements evoke a range of emotions and concerns. While AI offers incredible possibilities, its potential consequences can be daunting. Join me in exploring this rapidly evolving field as we navigate the future of technology together. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more thought-provoking content. Thank you for watching.
So, that'll be the end of today's video. If you liked it, please hit the like button. If you liked it, please hit the like button. If you disliked it, go ahead and hit the dislike button. I will still see that, you know. It's not irrelevant to everybody. It's still relevant to me. I'm gonna put a video up on screen. I don't usually do this because I hate how it looks. But there's a video on screen that you should go and watch. If you liked the video, please subscribe and turn on the bell notifications. And here are all of my social medias. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.
The world as it was at the end of the 20th century. It exists now only as part of a neural interactive simulation that we call the Matrix.
We have only bits and pieces of information, but what we know for certain is that at some point in the early 21st century, all of mankind was united in celebration. We marveled at our own magnificence as we gave birth to AI.
AI? You mean artificial intelligence?
A singular consciousness that spawned an entire race of machines. We don't know who struck first, us or them, but we know that it was us that scorched the sky. Human history, we have been dependent on machines to survive. Fate, it seems, is not without a sense of irony.